So, it's the end of yet another week, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend, I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week, the NBA Finals have continued to be battled out between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors, featuring some unbelievable performances, some disappointing showings too, and plenty of storylines to follow, and the NBA draft also continues to get closer and closer, so of course, we have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching the games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made, amongst others, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks that I'm looking at making for the next NBA Finals game, I'm thinking of going with Steph Curry to dish out over 5 assists, Jordan Poole to make over 1.5 threes, and Kevon Looney to block at least one shot. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link down in the description of the video to sign up today and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Yarel, and he says that Andrew Wiggins isn't even that much better than he was when he was playing in Minnesota. It just seems that way because of the system that he's playing in, along with actual motivation to compete for a championship. So for years now, Andrew Wiggins has had a pretty strange career to try to analyze. As a former number 1 overall pick, he entered the league with expectations of becoming a legitimate superstar, and most assumed he would be a dominant scorer and number 1 option for a team. Needless to say, he didn't live up to those expectations at all, so in his time with the Timberwolves, there was always a negative connotation surrounding his career. He was still scoring about 20 points per game, but there was a real issue that came from the fact that he was an inefficient scorer with questionable shot selection, and then defensively, he was also constantly criticized for never being fully bought in and consistently half-assing it. Now in Golden State, he's being rewarded with All-Star nominations and is being praised for his work defensively, and the way that he's being viewed has done a complete 180. But as the original take states here, I kind of agree that he isn't even really that much of a better player individually. Rather, I think he was just being thrust into a role that he wasn't cut out for when he was in Minnesota, and now in Golden State, he's found a role that he can absolutely thrive in. See, Wiggins is definitely a capable scorer with solid shot creation ability, but he's by no means someone who should be a team's go-to scorer. In Golden State, he's their 4th option behind guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole, so he's not who the defense is keying in on to stop, and he gets to benefit from that. The one area that he is without question better in overall, though, is his work as a perimeter defender, as he is no longer sleepwalking on that end of the floor like he used to in Minnesota, and has been a vital part of the Warriors' terrific defense while being tasked with guarding players like Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic, so for that, he absolutely deserves recognition for improvement. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Raniel, and he says that Paolo Banchero is going to be the best player in this year's draft, and if the Magic do not take him with the number 1 pick, it will be a monumental mistake. As the draft gets closer, I will definitely be putting out more videos about draft-related topics, and stuff like this is a good segue into those kind of conversations. Banchero entered the season as a consensus top 2 prospect in this year's class, and now after the season, he's still firmly in the top 3, as Jabari Smith also joined that top tier of players with him and Chet Holmgren, but the order in which those 3 get drafted is still very much up in the air. They all bring such different things to the table, and it's up to teams like the Magic to analyze what kind of playstyle they're going to be looking for to add to their team, because it's honestly so tough to definitively say any of these three are better than the other two. Chet Holmgren is a mobile, floor-spacing 7-footer that has unbelievable defensive instincts and blocks a ton of shots, but he's very skinny and will need to bulk up as his career progresses. Jabari Smith is an incredibly efficient shooter from all three levels that comfortably pulls up and shoots over defenders, and defensively he is a stud who can defend multiple positions well, but he's probably not someone who will serve as a number one option scoring in the NBA. Then lastly, with Banchero, he has all of the tools to be a go-to guy for an NBA team with fantastic footwork and a big strong frame to attack the basket and absorb contact with, but he can have questionable shot selection at times and will need to improve slightly as a shooter overall. All three bring a ton of good with their play, but it comes in different ways. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Will, and he says that this offseason the Warriors should move on from both Draymond Green and Klay Thompson because of how much they are slowing down, and they should try instead to get pieces that will help them for the future. This is an idea that sounds nice in theory, but for a variety of reasons I do disagree with it. The Warriors are now in the same position as the Lakers have been since they signed LeBron James, in that their only priority should be to build a team around Curry that is suitable to compete for championships. Curry is 34 years old now, and only has a finite amount of time left to compete for championships, so while he's still at his best, they need to make sure they have every opportunity to do that. Now, it is true that both Draymond and Klay Thompson are not quite as good as they used to be, and I'm also not suggesting that either one of them are untouchable in trade discussions, but if they were going to be moved, the Warriors would need a legitimate return in any trade for them, and I don't think there are that many trades, including those two, that would actually make them a better team afterwards. Sure, it was originally suggested they would garner valuable assets and young players, but the Warriors are not rebuilding. They did a mini rebuild to get back into being able to compete like they're doing now this year, so they don't need to do that again until Steph Curry's prime ends. The Warriors have accomplished everything they've won over the last decade with Curry, Draymond, and Klay at the core of it all, and on top of everything else that I've just said, I also feel like it wouldn't be right to split them up at this point. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.